Thank you, Jeremy. So hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us to learn more about the NYLA Sustainability Initiative's Community Change Agents Training Program. My name is Lisa Kropp, and I work at the Lindenhurst Memorial Library. Joining me today are awesome Community Change Agent Committee members, Erica Freudenberger from the Southern Adirondack Library System, and Margot Gustina of the Southern Tier Library System. So we're going to get started, and we're going to give you a little background here on what exactly is the NYLA Sustainability Initiative. So here's some super fast SI history. Created in 2014 by a NYLA resolution, the Sustainability Initiative is co-chaired by Rebecca Smith-Aldrich and Matthew Ballerman. We have 4 main working groups: benchmarking, marketing the cause, which you can sign up for their e-newsletter, which is awesome, roadmap, and us, the Community Change Agents crew. Each working group is focused on creating tools to help libraries become more sustainable and position libraries as strategic players in the communities they serve by focusing on the 3 main areas of sustainability: environmental and economic sustainability and social equity justice. When we began working with the NYLA Sustainability Initiative, the Community Change Agent team began to think about how could we move these ideas from theory to practice, and how can we answer the questions, what does it take really to think differently about what we do? How do we create a more sustainable library and community that focuses on being environmentally friendly, socially just, and economically viable? If you've thought about or are ready to try a collective approach to identifying and solving community problems, then this is the training for you. It has been designed to help communities find the answers to these questions with a committed cohort of people, and we're truly thrilled that you're interested in possibly joining NYLA's Sustainability Initiative as a community change agent. That's like a mouthful, I know. So who are the change agents? You can see from this slide that we're a diverse group of library folk who have come together throughout the larger NYLA Sustainability Initiative to change our respective corners of New York State and possibly the world. We each bring our experience with creating change in the communities we serve as examples to share, and we're here to help you every step of the way, along with Rebecca and Matt and the other working groups of Sustainability Initiative. So the goal of our program, hold on one second. The goal of the program is to empower community-based change agents to become advocates for sustainability projects in their respective communities. We will provide access to resources and expertise to align a library's core values and resources with sustainable practices so that they may help their communities not just survive, but thrive. So what does it take to be a community change agent? Find out as we will spend a year building and implementing our sustainable leadership skills. The Community Change Agents program will bring together a diverse cohort of peers who truly believe 2 things. They want to help make their library and community be the best it can be, and they want to help teach others how to do the same. Our first cohort will include 8 libraries, each of which will provide a 2-person team made up of 1 library and 1 community leader. The year-long training will develop the following skills: the ability to identify and assess community challenges, the ability to identify and work toward community aspirations, to build partnerships across industry silos, to design a project addressing a community challenge to be solved through collective impact, to identify and secure the resources needed to make the project a successful reality, and implement a project to address a community goal. Mentors will assist the cohort throughout the steps of community assessment and engagement, project development, resource identification, acquisition, and implementation. So now I'm going to pass the webinar bar over to Erica Freudenberger, who will explain in more detail what each of the 4 sessions of training will focus on and the importance of identifying a committed community partner.
So, hey everyone, thank you, Lisa, and thanks to everyone for joining us today. We've been working on this project for more than a year and a half, and I can't even tell you how super excited I am to tell you about this opportunity and its launch. So on May 1st, the application portal for the Community Change Agent Program will open. As you've heard from Lisa and can see from the slide, this is a year-long program. Why is it so long? Because there's loads to do and learn. During the course of the year, we're going to meet together in person 4 times. The first time is during the NYLA conference in November 2017, and that'll be in Saratoga Springs, to kick off the program and have everyone in the cohort meet, and to get an overview of the NYLA Sustainability Initiative, as well as to begin our community engagement training. The second session will meet in Albany for Pre-Advocacy Day in March 2018. We'll have workshops on advocacy to help us learn how to tell great stories about our libraries and communities, and project management, which will help us understand how to tackle large, complex things and make it all work. In May, we'll meet at the Carey Institute for Global Good in Rensselaerville, which is in southern Albany County. For this meetup, the food and housing costs will be covered. Libraries and their partners will still be responsible for getting themselves to the Carey Institute. Here we'll have the time and space to talk about leadership and finding resources, including working on our grant writing skills. This session will run from noon one day to noon the next, so we'll have a nice chunk of time to do great work. The final session will convene at the NYLA conference in Rochester. Each participating team will present about their project and have a chance to meet the incoming cohort for 2018. We'll also have a session on mentorship because guess what? Whoever is chosen gets to serve as mentors to the second cohort. As you can tell, we're setting up this training to be sustainable and to create a larger community of practice for the entire cohort to draw on. So, would you like to know more? Because we can tell you more. We're going to break it down for you now. So participating libraries will bring a community partner to each of the 4 in-person sessions. Now, why are we asking you to do this? Because a sustainable and resilient library knows its community and connects with community resources. And because we're asking you to make some big changes in your community, in order to do that, you're going to need help. And don't worry, as Lisa said, we're going to be with you every step of the way. In addition to the 4 in-person sessions and monthly virtual check-ins, we'll have weekly calls with your mentor to make sure you're able to do the work you need to and to identify and get the resources that you need to make it all happen. Are any of you currently working with community partners? If you are, if you can just write yes or no in the chat box, we can get a sense and see where people are. And if you're not yet collaborating with anyone, that's okay. And this will give you an opportunity to exercise a new muscle. So I don't see anybody writing anything, so maybe you're all still waking up. So just to talk a minute about...
They're answering in the question pane rather than in the chat pane. I think that might be the only place they're allowed to answer.
Aha. Oh, look at these. Lots of people are saying yes. Hooray. That's awesome. Your community partner may be somebody that you've worked with in the past, or it could be an organization that's doing great work in your community that you'd like to work with. It's a chance to deepen existing relationships and build new partnerships, strengthening both organizations in the process. So for those of you who don't already have community partners and you're wondering, how do I get buy-in from a community partner? The easiest way is to ask them out. Just have coffee or lunch and let them know about this program. Explain that you're eager to take a look at community challenges and you think they'd be a great partner. It's really important to have an honest conversation about what's involved, including the time commitment. You don't want them to agree to something that is beyond their capacity. Be sure to let them know why you think that they're the right partner and what you expect them to bring to the table. Also, let them know that you're going to be learning together with the larger cohort so they don't need to feel like experts going into the process. This opportunity and sustainability in general isn't just for library or community leaders. Anyone can learn how to build stronger communities that embrace the triple bottom line of sustainability. And the whole purpose of the Community Change Agent program is to provide you with the tools and time you need to do both big picture thinking and the practical applications that bring your vision to life. Let's go to the So now let's talk about the opportunity. We know you can't wait to be a community change agent, so how do you make it official? As I mentioned before, the application portal opens on May 1st and will be available until June 11th. This opportunity is open to all library types and anyone who works in a library. You do not have to have an MLS or an MLIS to participate. Participants will have access to mentors and trainings at no cost, and food and housing costs will be covered for the session at the Carey Institute for Global Good. Libraries and their community partners will be responsible for covering costs to attend the other 3 in-person sessions, one in Saratoga Springs, one in Albany, and one in Rochester, and for transportation costs to the Carey Institute. As part of the application, you'll identify your community partner and provide a letter of support from them, as well as your director or board of trustees. Since you'll be working with a community partner to move your community forward, we want to know what you're thinking about, and we ask that you share an issue or a challenge you've identified to work on together to help your community. So when you apply, please keep in mind that you should expect to spend a minimum of 3 hours a week on the project, and depending on the scope of your project, it may require more time. It will also require you to allocate funds for your travel, hotel stays, and meals during 3 of the 4 sessions, as we've said. We will provide a template with talking points for you to use with funders if you choose to approach community foundations, local banks, service organizations like Rotary or other service clubs, and if you want to approach them about helping out with funding. Our ideal candidates will be curious and passionate about transforming communities and eager to create a positive, sustainable change in their corners of the world. We'll ask you to tell us about your commitment to your community and the role you see your library playing in building a sustainable, resilient, and regenerative future for your community. So, session 1. I provided an overview of the 4 sessions earlier, but I'll now go a bit more in depth. In the first session, we're going to meet in Saratoga Springs the day before the annual New York Library Association conference. Our meeting will happen on Wednesday, November 8th, during the traditional pre-conference continuing ed slot for those of you who have done that. We encourage any library folk to stay for the conference when there'll be lots more good stuff about the Sustainability Initiative and other important library topics. At the first session, we'll have a full day to get to know each other, learn more about NYLA's Sustainability Initiative, and talk about what a sustainable community looks like. We'll hear from NYLA's Sustainability Committee about the triple bottom line and how to integrate it into everything we do. Later in the day, we'll begin to explore community engagement and learn how to gather public knowledge and identify the aspirations of your community, then help facilitate the changes that people want to make. We'll talk about why and how we change what we do to create a more democratic, sustainable, and resilient library and community. The focus of our second session, held on Tuesday, February 27th during Pre-Advocacy Day in Albany, will be advocacy and project management. We'll learn about NYLA's legislative agenda, how to tell the story of your library and your community, and how to best communicate to stakeholders to achieve your goals. We'll also learn some basic project management techniques to help us guide our projects, be efficient with our time, get organized, and achieve all of our outcomes. At this session, we'll have a chance to look at some of the other work being done by the Sustainability Committee, including the benchmark and roadmap projects, and identify ways to integrate those tools into what we're doing. We hope that everyone will stay in Albany to practice their new advocacy skills on the legislators the next day. And remember, advocacy isn't just for library or community leaders, it's for anyone who wants to make a change. I'm really looking forward to our third session, which will mark the halfway spot in our program. We'll meet up at the gorgeous Carey Institute for Global Good in Rensselaerville, which is in southern Albany County. Be ready to talk about leadership and what it takes to make real change happen in a library and community. And also, we'll talk about how we sustain ourselves while we do this work. This session includes an overnight, so we'll have time the following day to talk about how we're integrating the resources provided by the Sustainability Initiative into our community projects, as well as give status reports on our projects and get feedback from the larger cohort. We'll also talk about what happens when we talk sustainability to people who have no idea what that really means. We'll teach you how to infuse sustainable practices and thoughts into your daily work life, both in the library and in the larger community it serves. We'll also spend time learning about grant writing and identifying community resources that we can tap into and make our projects both successful and sustainable. For our final session, we'll come together in Rochester for the annual NYLA conference and celebrate our year-long journey with a capstone presentation. We'll have a workshop on mentoring and debrief. We'll talk about how this program could be enhanced, what our biggest obstacles were, and prepare to mentor the next round of community change agents as they begin their own year-long journey. Before I turn this over to Margot to tell you more about the challenge, I want to acknowledge that this program is asking a lot from participants. We know that this is a major commitment and want everyone to know that we will be with you every step of the way. Our group, as I said before, has been working on this for the last year and a half, and we're deeply committed to making this happen and to learning along with the cohort. We're also super psyched and cannot wait to see what happens. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the fabulous Margot Gustino.
Oh, thank you, Erica. Thanks, Elisa. As Erica just said, my name is Margot Gustina, and I'm a librarian for the Southern Tier Library System, a majority rural public library system in the southwestern Finger Lakes and Allegheny Mountains of New York. Now I want to describe in more detail the application process for the Community Change Agents program, as well as what we'll be looking for in your submission. I'm sorry to do this to you guys. I need the mouse. Okay, thanks. As Erica mentioned, the program is designed to take a community library team from community engagement through project implementation, the entire process. The application structure is a series of questions with 3 short answer text questions included. We don't want you in your application to tell us your excellent idea for fixing all the stuff going wrong in your town or in your library. So when we ask the question on your application, describe a challenge your community is facing that you, your library, and your community partner are committed to addressing, we really are talking about the challenge, not the solution. For example, you might perceive that your community is facing a joblessness challenge. It's pretty common in my region of New York. Talk to us about what joblessness means, why it's a challenge, and why it matters to your community. Why don't we want you to give us your great ideas about fixing the problem? When we engage deeply and meaningfully with our community, in order to develop change that is systematic in nature and sustainable into the future, we need to develop it in cooperation with the communities we serve. That doesn't mean we don't have expertise, and it doesn't mean we aren't leaders or that we're going to defer to the will of the masses. It does mean that we work to empower and elevate the voices of all the members of our communities and account for their concerns in our approach to change. In order to do this successfully, we need partnerships and connection. You've already heard about the community partner requirement. I want to reiterate a couple things about your choice of partner and what your relationship will look like. Notice that this slide says you need a friend. I don't think you need to be besties with the partner you'll be working with, but you need to be open to developing, if you haven't already, a pretty deep and trusting relationship. Project work can have a lot of bumps and hiccups. You'll be traveling and workshopping for at least 4 full days of your life with this person over the course of a year. And outside those meetups, you'll be building and implementing a project with them in your home community. If you already have red flags about feeling that they have a grating personality or are concerned that they don't take responsibility for themselves or their actions, these feelings are just going to intensify over the length of the program. Find someone else. In addition to the support you receive from your partner, you need institutional support. The program will require your time and your attention. In order to give the amount you need to see your project through implementation, you will need time and space at work to position your library as the community anchor for this project and the catalyst of change you and your community are working to bring about. This is a library community partnership program, and the library as an organization also needs to support the project, not just the applicant. Your application, what you submit through the SurveyMonkey application portal, will not be considered complete until you've also emailed letters of commitment from both your community partner and the lead decision maker within your library, be it your board president, your director, your dean, or your school principal. We've already drafted these letters for you. You don't have to do it. Your work will be to download the letters from the Sustainability Initiative's website, have them affirmed and signed, and email them back to the initiative team. This isn't merely a bureaucratic step. As the organization changes and priorities can shift, it can come in handy to have it in writing that the library is an organization as a whole committed to this project, not just you. Everything you need to prepare and then complete the application process lives on the Community Change Agent application portal, which will open on May 1st, including guidance on the advantages and requirements of the program, a printable blank application for your use in sussing out your ideas and drafting them up, letters of commitment for your community partner and your library leadership, and a link to get into the application itself, as well as the email address to use for questions, concerns, and to send your signed letters. The Community Change Agent program leaders are fully committed to the success of your library community team. This is a big lift, and everybody's working in hopes of your success. In order to make that commitment to you, we needed to limit enrollment in this first year to 8 library community teams. We can't know how many people will apply to participate, but we can share with you what we're looking for when we read your writing. The application must meet the minimum requirements of completeness, and we must have received your signed letters of commitment from your partner and your home institution. Your writing should display a seriousness about the program. Treat this application as you would a grant application or a submission for an employment opportunity. Our priority in choosing who participates is to invite participants who aren't necessarily richly experienced in this work. You don't have to have already done all of this. We're looking for learners, not people who have already handled it all themselves. We do have some dispositions that we're looking for. And they're the dispositions that make community engagement, project management, and sustainable systems work successful. So that's comfort with risk. Not everything works the way you want it to. So you're going to have to take some risk in community engagement work. You're going to have to trust people and their opinions, even if they don't necessarily reflect your own. Commitment to service and a desire to learn, not only from the program, but also from your surrounding community. Sometimes that can be really, really tricky for librarians to remember that everyone around them has information that they might not already have, and to be open to learning from not only colleagues and leaders, but also the average person within their community. The NYLA Sustainability Initiative was developed in a large committee of co-creators, some of whom invented and chose to focus on the Community Change Agents program. We believe that we do our best work when we share our ideas and criticisms together. So while we're together, please ask your questions, because if you have one, probably someone else has the same one, and we'll all benefit if we vet those right now. So please ask, what are you wondering about? Really? No one has any questions at all? All right, guys. I didn't expect that. Thank you, everyone. Oh, wait. Oh, here we are. If we're not ready yet, can we apply next year? Is a question that we just received. Yeah. So our assumption is that next year's application window will mirror this one. So look to be ready by, May of next year. Annalee, go ahead and reach out with what your current situation is and tell us why, if you want to via email, and tell us why you don't think you're quite ready. It might just be work capacity or personal capacity, but let me know what you think. I have a question. Please review partner travels with change agents to all 4 sessions. Yes. So Debbie, we had, this is something that we've gone back and forth on as a group. Because the sessions aren't lecture and listen sessions, because they're learn and do sessions, the work that you'll be doing, the way you'll be learning these skills is by working on the project that you've developed with your community partner. So not having them with you would mean that only half of the team is there to do the work, which won't make for a functional partnership and will give you less good results. So I promise it's not just to make it harder, it's to make the success better and richer. Thanks. Any other questions? Liz asks, I would like to share some printed or online material with my potential community partners. It's a significant commitment for them, so I'd like to show them it's legit. Yes, Liz. So our portal, the application portal with all of our stuff on it, lives on the NYLA website, but it hasn't been opened yet and won't be open before May 1st. If you'd like to contact us, and that's Monday. So on Monday, but right now what is live is the nyla.org/sustainability website. So the entire initiative stuff is all right there, and you can see all of that stuff. It's just some of the more in-depth information about the program, specifically the application, is not available yet until Monday. But please visit the website, share with them all of that. We've had a white paper published. Our co-chair, Rebecca Smith Aldrich, has a monthly column in Library Journal. I don't know, it for real is. We're actually doing this crazy thing. So come on and do it with us. Lori asked, what types of community projects are you looking for? Again, Lori, I'm gonna restate something that I said earlier. Right now, we're not looking for community projects. Those community projects will be developed in cooperation with your community partner and through the work you do in community engagement in the first quarter of your work with the Community Change Agents program. Right now, what we're looking for is what sort of community challenge you'd be interested in addressing and why that's important to you. I know that's a bit backwards for how applications usually work, but again, it gets at the work that you'll be doing as part of the training. Are we asking, Michael has a question. It is, are we asking community leaders, businesses, service organizations to sponsor or provide monetary support? And will this eventually be transferred to the people of the community? Or are we relying solely on these leaders, businesses, service organizations? Ooh, that's a really good question, Michael. So I have a follow-up question that maybe you can answer in the chat box. And it's, are you asking about monetary support for your participation in the program or monetary support for the project that you develop? For the project, okay. Part of the training program will be to identify grant funds and how to identify funding for projects. But in general, for a project to be sustainable, it cannot be solely funded through grants. It's a different topic for libraries and librarians, right? Like how your library's operations can't be funded through grants and fundraisers. It's not sustainable. Whatever program you develop, while the startup funds can come through grant identification, we'll be discussing how to structure a program so it ends up living within the community. A good project will have legs and be able to sustain itself beyond the initial Kickstarter life of developing it. There are a list of initial grants available, but Michael, you're gonna have to wait. JK. Because you don't have if you participate in the project, and you walk through these steps, you don't right now have a project to pitch to a grantor, but we can have a further conversation about grant identification and how that works with projects and community projects. Any other questions? Pamela is asking, how broad or narrow a definition of community should we explore? Workplace, living radius? Some of this will depend, Pamela, on what kind of library you're in, but by community, we're talking about the people you serve through your library. So while workplace is a definition of community, we're really looking for outside of the four walls of your library. So when you turn outward, when you leave the front door, who is it that you serve out there? How do you serve them? And how can you partner with them to improve the lives of the folks inside your library organization and without it? Did that answer the question? She said, I think that helps clarify for me the library in which I work to serve versus perhaps one I visit. Pamela, are you in a public library or an academic library? So actually we have academic library partners in this project as well, and we've done a lot of talking to them about what does it mean, how does this project fit an academic environment? So is it the campus environment that you serve, right? Or is it beyond the campus? Because many universities and colleges, many of their strategic plans involve or strategic vision statements involve partnership or collaboration with a broader community. I would challenge you as an academic librarian and any other academics on the line to look beyond the campus boundaries and identify ways that the library, the campus, and the community can work together to see real change. Because the campus itself becomes more sustainable if the community in which it lives, that town and gown relationship, is stronger itself. Hooray. Any other questions? Okay, I gave it a full 10-second count and we have no other questions. Thank you everyone for spending this time with us and in your interest in the New York Library Association Sustainability Initiatives Community Change Agent Program. Check out our website on May 1st to get everything you need to fill out the application. And please don't be shy about emailing us with questions. I do encourage you to include the letters CCA for Community Change Agent in the subject heading of any email you send. It comes to our co-chairs and it will help them determine how to sort those emails and send them to the appropriate person for answers. And that includes folks that aren't quite sure if you're ready for the program. Talk to us about that. I'd be interested to learn more. Thank you, everyone, for your interest.